What's up, beautiful people, and welcome back to the channel. Today is Sunday, so you know what we're about to do. It's self-care Sunday. For those of you who are new, self-care Sunday is when we sit down, try out some new products, usually deep conditioners, and we chat. We talk about hot topics. We talk about what's going on in my life some days because everything is ongoing, right? We also just shoot the shit. Like, this is a day for us to sit down, take care of our hair, nurture ourselves, and also just be up on what's going on. If that sounds like your vibe, go ahead, grab your products, sit down and tap in. I'm going to be doing these maybe like twice a month so we can keep up on what's going on and we can make sure that we are feeding the community that we have already built here. So today we're going to be doing a little bit of treating. Your girl needs some additional strength because I've really been focusing in on moisture. So I'm going to test out the Pattern treatment mask today. I'm super excited to use this. This has been going viral for quite some time. I'm ready to see what the hype is about. And we are also going to talk about Target, the boycotts, and Black-owned businesses. I tapped into a conversation last week. I have some thoughts and we're going to get them all out today. So if you're interested, go ahead, grab your products, and let's chat, babes. So you guys already know I have my hair freshly cleansed. I use the Rizzo's Curls hair lengthening system. So the biotin shampoo and conditioner. I am going to be going through a journey of using those, and I will do my best to document kind of where I'm at with that. I've updated you guys on all the hair loss that I have experienced post hospital stays and all of that stuff, and I'm still having a little bit of abnormal shedding, but it is getting better. And I have also already been using these two products, so I'm going to apply these once I'm finished deep conditioning. So far I am liking what I'm seeing. On the other side, if you guys want to hear about what's going on in Bree's world and aging, the same day that one of my students looked at me and said, "Hey, you don't have that much longer until you turn 60. I went home and found my first gray hair. So, you know, that's how I'm doing. But you know what? I'm not mad at it though. She's really, really pretty. She's really hard to see. If I can like catch her, I'll point her out to you guys, but it literally looks like tinsel. So I'll take it. So today we're using the Pattern treatment mask. This comes in a 15 fluid ounce container. I'm sorry if y'all can hear my dogs downstairs fighting. At the end of the day, work needs to be done and I cannot sit around and wait on them to hush. This is formulated for coilies and tight textures when your hair needs a spa day, and I definitely need that. I'm really trying to just nurture and pamper my hair right now. Historic curl traditions come to new life with our rice water treatment mask, luxurious in feel and powerful in performance. This mask delivers slip, curl elongation, and definition to coils. Formulated with rice water ferment and moringa seed extract and a nod to ancestral at-home remedies. Your hair will be left hydrated, silky, and pampered, keeping your texture juicy and joyful. And then, of course, there's a little quote from Tracy Ellis Ross. It says, "Hair care is self-care. Honor your pattern." And I love that because you guys know I have always leaned into that. I have always treated taking care of my hair, styling my hair as something that is supposed to be kind of cherished for me. It's the way that I keep from being a bully to my own head. So I love that she has that same take. So this is supposed to be a strengthening treatment. So the directions are to apply on wet, detangled hair before or after cleansing, depending on your preference. Let it sit on hair for 5 to 10 minutes. After rinsing out, deep condition with Pattern heavy or intensive conditioner to replenish even more moisture back into hair to fully enliven your curls. And then as a pro tip, after applying mask, cover hair with a shower cap and a warm towel for heat-assisted product penetration, which is what I always do with my deep treatments. I'm not going to be using one of the Pattern conditioners today because I'm still on project Use It Up. Depending on how my hair feels, I will likely go in with my Camille Rose coconut water penetrating hair treatment after. This is really, really great for moisture. Those of you who have already seen this know that this is not a traditional mask texture. She has a nice jelly consistency. Not me making a mess. So you can see she is movable and I am excited about that. I feel like this is going to be a really great experience as far as a protein conditioner is concerned. There was a lot of things going on, and one of the first things that really happened at the top of the year was the announcement of Target rolling back their DEI programs. If you do not know what DEI stands for, it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? It is also an acronym that our current administration is heavily trying to demonize. And in the midst of these things happening, we had mass callings for boycotts. And then we also had Black-owned business owners coming on and basically begging people not to stop shopping at Target. Tabitha Brown was one of the first to get on and really say something, you know, saying that it's going to hurt them, to hurt Black business owners more than it's going to hurt Target itself. And not too long after that, Melissa Butler came out and expressed similar ideas and opinions. And then we kind of had just like this mass following throughout the days of prominent brand owners coming out and kind of speaking their piece on it. And it did not go the way that they thought that it would go. I was personally not surprised because I feel like there's a time and a place for everything, right? And even though as a people we can be understanding about the fact that there are many layers to things, I think that brand owners are forgetting a lot of key factors in this situation, and I'm not going to let y'all forget. But I have a lot to say to the community too. And so I'm going to start off with just the general public first, specifically speaking to Black folk in general, especially Black folk in the natural hair community, right? Because I feel like out of all of the businesses that are going to be affected, Black-owned beauty companies, especially hair companies, are going to be hit the hardest. We've already been seeing this, right? As much as people don't like to hear it, Black women especially have always had their fingers on the pulse of the industry. And it is our money that has really driven the industry. And so when we talk about the feelings we have toward how natural hair content, pages, things of that nature are kind of becoming like a dying and lost art, a lot of people get upset about that, but it really is the truth. As a community, I feel like we really have fallen for the okie doke in a lot of aspects. And it's a big part of the reason why I have not really changed much on my channel. It's a big part of the reason why I still film my content in the way that I do. I have never acquiesced to the short form content demands. There's a reason why there are a lot of questions that I don't answer on this channel, because as a community, we have fallen for the okie doke when it comes to not thinking for ourselves. We want everything fast. We want everything to be a quick fix. We don't want to have to sit and listen and take in information. We don't want to have to understand technique. We want miracles, you know? We want people to tell us what to do so that, one, we don't have to work hard for what we want, but two, when it goes wrong, we have someone to blame. I don't feed into those things, and what we're going through now is a big part of the reason why I never have. This feels thicker in the hands than I expected it to. Ooh, nice. Lots of slip. It's kind of what I expected. She feels good. So as a community, it's high time, and I've said this, you know, on the channel several times, it's high time that we stop coddling each other, right? We really do need to get real when it comes to certain things. And I think that in many ways, a lot of the strategy that we have had over the years has had its benefit, but we are in a situation now where we are literally living under a fascist regime. And we have been watching this progress continuously for a very long time. I'm never going to forget living through 2016, but you guys should know at this point that this is not, like, we're not dealing with 2016 anymore. This is beyond what we could have even fathomed at that point, but something that many of us knew would happen, right? We don't really know how to handle things because we have really fallen into this pattern of wanting someone to give us the answers. We want someone to tell us what to do instead of getting up and doing the thing, right? We want someone else to lead a revolution without actually having to participate in the revolution itself. And the fact of the matter is that in this, if we are going to get out of this, everyone's going to have to lose a little bit. And a lot of us already are losing things. And I think that is why it has been really difficult to kind of come together in a lot of ways and kind of form a collective thought to put our fingers on where we go from here beyond what we have kind of decided as far as Black women and the whole 92% movement and all of that stuff. And I do have some opinions on that as well. I think that, yes, we shouldn't be fighting everybody's fight. I think it's high time that we allow people from other communities to get up and do the shit that we have been doing for generations, right? They keep asking, where are Black people? And it's like, babe, we were here. We've been here. Everybody else is waiting on y'all, you know? So absolutely, they need to get off of their asses and figure it out too. Because at the end of the day, so many other groups of people in this country really did fall for the model minority okie doke. And not just other racial groups in this country. Other groups of people within the Black diaspora have also fallen for the model minority myth. And a lot of these people are finding out now that they really are not special. Y'all just got played. Y'all got played heavily. And we tried to tell you, and you said that we were just loud, that we were complaining, that we weren't using, the benefits that have been afforded to us. And now y'all are really starting to realize in the worst ways possible that everything that has been fed to you by those people was a lie. And we tried to tell you, but, it is what it is. At the end of the day, a lot of people really did fuck around, and now we're in the find out stages. The fact that I literally turned on the TV yesterday and we had government officials literally sitting in front of concentration camps. We're not going to mince our words here and act like that prison in El Salvador is not what it is. We're not going to pretend. We cannot pretend. And not all of those people that are in that prison were here illegally. And even if they were illegally, they received no due process. And they are being hoarded like animals. They are piled up on top of each other like slaves were on the slave ships. It's genuinely disgusting. And that should scare the shit out of you guys. Because the fact of the matter is, we can say that we're resting. We can say that, we're worrying about ourselves first. But I think a lot of Black people in general keep forgetting that Black people are represented in every other intersection. And so we can say we're worrying about ourselves, but are you worrying about yourself to the detriment of everyone else? We have really fallen for the individualist mindset, right? To the point that we have forgotten that Black people exist everywhere in every form. We have gay Black people. We have trans Black people. We have Afro-Latinos. We have so many Black immigrants. Even when we talk about, if we just keep this within the natural hair community itself, how many of the Black founders and business owners within the natural hair community are first generation from Nigeria, Haiti, Jamaica, other parts of the Caribbean, other parts of Africa. We have so many founders and business owners that represent the global diaspora, right? And so we don't get to sit around and act like, oh, this doesn't affect me. This affects them. It does affect you. And with there being a full-on attack on birthright citizenship, we know where this is going to go. And if you do not know where this is going to go, you've really been asleep, and I need you to wake up, babes. And I need you to do your research and pay attention. Literally, as of today, the day that I am filming this, it has been announced that this administration is going to take over the Smithsonian, and the first piece that they are going to attack is the African American History Museum. And we know what's going to happen with that. It's going to be another attempt at erasing our culture. It's going to be another attempt at erasing our history and all of the things that we have built in this country. And the thing is, they cannot take that from us unless we allow them to. And if we become too complacent, if we become too prideful, they will take it. I keep hearing people say that we are not our ancestors, but if I'm going to be honest, and this is going to sound really harsh, yes, I agree, we are not our ancestors. A lot of us have turned into the physical embodiment of everything that our ancestors stood against. And I think many of our ancestors, if they could speak to us today, would be deeply disappointed and would be deeply disgusted in some of the ways that we are acting. Whether you are a Black person who is living in wealth or you are a Black person that is living in poverty. I think that we have allowed ourselves to become so individualistic that we would probably be our ancestors' worst nightmare. And I'm just being honest. So with that being said, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Although I am disappointed in a lot of the things that I have seen within the community, I don't blame the members of the community, right? All of this is by design. This has been a slow process, coming from years of trying to dismantle the education system. This mask is really slippery, so I'm just throwing stuff around. Coming from years of trying to dismantle the education system, the things that are happening right now have been dreams of the Republican Party for a very long time. This is not new. It's not a new manifesto, guys. And those of us who are around my age group, if you're around like between the ages of like 25 to like 40 specifically, you know that like once we hit No Child Left Behind, that was really what started this rapid snowballing into anti-intellectualism and dismantling public education. So all of this has been in the works for a very, very, very long time. It's a big part of why y'all really need to stop memeing George Bush. He's not an adorable old man. He's not. That man is awful. He is awful, okay? So I don't blame you guys. All of this is really, really scary. And I think that when you live in an age where everyone is just desperately trying to survive, literally by design, I don't think that there's any other way that this could have turned out, you know? It's not like we haven't seen great strides in this country, but at the end of the day, how far is a country going to get when it was literally built off the backs of death, genocide, and destruction? Like, let's be honest. So I feel my community's pain deeply. And maybe it's because I have worked in advocacy spaces often. I was working heavily in advocacy spaces in 2016 when we went through this the first time. And it was surreal. Literally watching people scared, people that I was supposed to be looking to for guidance were literally running afraid. This is a whole other, I just dropped some of that. This is a whole other scale of problems in comparison to what we were dealing with in 2016. And a whole lot of people are finding out the hard way that in voting to try to keep their money in their pockets and voting against their own interest, they have truly damned themselves to hell. They really have. I think people thought that maybe it would just be a little bit uncomfortable for them, or they thought that, oh, it's not going to happen to me. It's just going to happen to the rest of them, right? You know? And it's greater than electoral politics. I mean, look at what is going on right now on Capitol Hill. They're literally sitting there and letting him do it, regardless of the political party that they're affiliated with the exception of a couple of loud voices. They have just been acquiescing. And it is disgusting to see. And so as a part of the community, I feel you. You are entitled to be angry. You are entitled to be upset. I think we should all be angry. We should all be disgusted. And I think truly what I'm saying, even though it might feel harsh, I think a lot of people have actually recognized that to be the truth. And I think that's why so many people are leaning into these big boycotts, because people just want to feel like they're doing something, right? People want to feel like they're trying to change something. The issue is that this isn't how you boycott. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's not how you boycott. This is not how. If you just want to be loud, then yeah. But if you actually want to make changes and have demands met, this is not how you boycott. Boycotting is strategic. Boycotting is carefully planned. And I've been saying this for a good minute, but too many of y'all want to be revolutionaries and not enough people want to run the bake sales. We keep citing Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. We keep citing the bus boycotts. But people didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm not taking the bus. They had safety nets in place for people who needed them. They didn't say, oh, well, we know you need to go to work, but it sucks for you if you can't. We're boycotting, you know? They had plans, right? They had ways for everyone to get to work. It was a community organization, right? We had women running bake sales to raise funds and so many other things that were happening for those bus boycotts to be effective, because those boycotts weren't supposed to last that long, but they did, and they got done what they needed to get done. And right now, because we have so many people that want to be at the forefront, but don't actually want to community organize, it's not working out. It really isn't working out. And because we have so many people calling for the same thing, some of them are asking for demands to be met, some of them aren't. It's a big mess. And at the end of the day, nobody wants to get together and talk, meet, nothing. And so it's deeply ineffective. Do I think that this boycott is truly going to harm Target in the long run? No. Do I think short term? Yeah. It was probably a little bit shocking. But if we're talking long term, no, because we have to consider the fact that accessibility is still going to be king, right? And for a lot of people, if the only thing that they can get to is a Target, well, babe, they're going to go to Target. Like, that just is what it is at the end of the day. And I think that there are definitely solutions for that. But I also believe that this is going to have to be a movement that has representatives in every state in order to come up with actual smart strategy and solutions depending on how their state is structured, because everything is going to look different. How we work these things out in a more rural area is going to be very different from people who live in cities and have access to every grocer chain that they can think of, right? That have access to everything. So I don't want to discourage people from getting up and trying to enact change. What I want to encourage you guys to do is to not just find people who sound good, who talk a good game, but find people who are actually showing results. People who are actually telling you, this is what we're going after. This is what we're looking for. This is what we want. This is what we're demanding. And this is how we're going to do it. If you are following people who, when you ask, how are we doing this? What is the game plan? What are the demands? And they cannot tell you, or they get mad, they get upset, they get pissy with you. Those are not people you should be following, period. If they cannot, listen, if they can't explain to a 5-year-old why what they're doing is important and how they're going to do it, then they're probably not the people that should be trying to lead you to freedom, okay? At the end of the day, strategy is strategy, and it doesn't have to be, you know, It doesn't have to be the most intricate thing in the world, but we do need to make sure that we have fail-safes so that community members do not have to lose too much. Right now, we have a lot of people that cannot and will not do much of anything because they don't have any way to do it without losing everything. And I understand that as someone who has worked on the ground, who has done a lot of canvassing within her community, who has done a lot of community action, who has worked on various campaigns. This is not easy for people. It's not easy for everyday people. And oftentimes the people that we are trying to get to mobilize are either working for or are living in a household with someone who was working for the people that we're trying to organize against. And we need to make sure that those people are safe. We owe it to them as a community. If you want to be a part of a community, you owe it to each other to make sure that you are protected and to make sure that the other people that you are working with are protected. That's first things first, you know? And so when you come across these hurdles, you have to figure out, okay, so what can I do? What kind of strategy can I implement to make sure that these people can take a stand and raise their voices, but also still remain safe? And I don't see enough people doing that. And that is not the fault of the community. It's the fault of the people that want to be on top, period. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about specifically the Black-owned business owners that are in Target. And so last week, Courtney Adeleye, former owner of the Main Choice, put together a community call with many of the top Black business owners in beauty at Target. And so it was a group of all women who have a lot of diverse ownership within the Target space. So people in hair care, skin care, makeup, even like braiding hair, things like that. Janelle Stevens from Camille Rose was in there. The owner of Undefined Beauty was in there. We had quite a few people, all people who have made millions and some who are just starting out in the business, right? And I was really curious to get into this conversation because one, I felt like out of all of the brand owners who did come out and make statements, I felt like Courtney made the most self-aware one, right? She was very clear about the fact that like they did not know that any of this was coming. They were really blindsided. And they were just trying to figure out like, where do we go from here? And that is like totally understandable. And so, you know, she did say like, the goal is not to convince you to keep spending your money at Target. We just want to give our perspective as business owners, which I respect and I understand. You guys know that I have a tingle right here. I'm trying to get it out. You guys know that I have been spotlighting and highlighting Black-owned brands on this channel for a very long time. You guys don't have to ask me to do that work because it's just what I do at the end of the day. I would say about 80 to 90% of the brands that I showcase on this channel are Black-owned, especially within the hair care space, right? And so that's something that I've been doing for a minute. And with someone who has a pretty solid understanding of economics, that was part of my background as well. You know, I understand, I think, more than most do when it comes to the business aspect of things. And there were definitely some things that I think were important to highlight in there, especially in talking about how things were rolled out with this, and how these women were really blindsided. Like, all of these business owners that were in Target were blindsided. They did not know that this was coming. And I think the bigger thing that was interesting to hear was that what we're hearing out in the world is not being communicated in these boardrooms when they go to meet with these people. And so when they're talking to these executives, they're being told, like, you have our full support, you guys aren't going anywhere. But then what's being put out to the public is something totally different. And those of you who really follow Target should know that this is not surprising. It's not the first time that they have acquiesced to bigotry, right? We have seen it time and time again when Pride Month comes around. If you pay attention to much of the criticisms that they get from people who do not like that, and how they tend to handle things, a lot of times they do not end up taking the sides of the more diverse movements publicly. And so I personally was not surprised. And I honestly did not think that many of the programs, many of the DEI programs that they had in the first place were going to make it long anyway. I have the feeling that it was probably within their plan to roll these things back. And if anyone has really been paying attention since the events of 2020 that led to everyone putting their black squares up, you know, on Instagram and shit like that. Like, we all knew that a lot of these companies were just pandering and posturing, right? They didn't want to be the odd man out that didn't, you know? And so we've been seeing this happen for a good minute, where we have these brands that have started rolling things back. And then we do have some that have actually like followed their word. So they have given updates on those initiatives, and then they have launched like part 2s and stuff like that. But those are very far and few between. Like, that is not the general, that's not what we're generally seeing. And I don't think that anyone who really paid attention to what was happening then is surprised that these things are happening now. I expected this to happen, but I think with the election, that was deeply jarring and deeply concerning for the average consumer, especially people who really do shop at Target, mostly because of the variety of Black-owned products that they have. Like, Target has really been going in not only on hair care and body care, but everything in between, from, you know, food items, cookware, the Black History Month setups with collaborations from Black designers. Like, these things have been heavily sought out by the community, and we have spent a lot of our dollars in that place. It's a place that we have come to know that we can go and find ourselves on the shelves, not just in the store, right? So I was not surprised, but I was surprised to hear that, you know, these brand owners are getting very much conflicting information, and that we are being sold a story and they are being sold a different story. Which one is going to be the truth? I don't know. We just gonna have to sit around and find out, right? But there was a lot of really good information that was given within that talk. Understanding how those numbers work, addressing people who wanted to know why they couldn't just pull their products out of Target. That would be a straight up lawsuit, y'all. Like, it's not that simple. It really isn't. And of course, everybody's contract is different, but most of these brands are small brands, and therefore they cannot afford the payout that they would have to provide if they did remove all of their products from Target shelves. It's just not that simple. The thing that concerned me was that it's very clear that quite a few of these women are very much out of touch. And I wasn't surprised, but I was disappointed in some of the rhetoric that was used. The general anger at the community that some of these women had. And before y'all say anything, I am not saying Courtney, okay? She really just opened the floor up for people to talk. She really, out of all the people that spoke in that live, I would say that she really did speak kind of the least. She was more a moderator than anything else. But there were some people who kept homing in on this idea that Black people need to stop being so emotional and use logic. And every time that was said, it just really, really, really pissed me off. It pissed me off to no end. Because in one hand, you are asking Black people to set aside their principles, right? Because this isn't just an issue of, I just don't want to shop here just because. Like, you are asking people to set aside very important principles and calls to action to shop with you, right? But at the same token, you're using white supremacist talking points to the people that you want to continue to support you. And I'm just going to tell y'all right now, I don't care if you're a small business owner or if you have made millions. If you come to the people who spend their money with you, hard-earned money, sometimes very irresponsibly, who have supported you, who have been posting about your products, sharing about their products for absolutely nothing in return. They just believe in it, right? If you speak to your community and your consumers in that manner, I can guarantee you that they are going to turn around and eat your face. And if you want continued support, that is not going to be the way to get it. You cannot come up here using white supremacist rhetoric to try to speak to your Black consumers. What kind of sense does that make? I think a lot of y'all have gotten into boardrooms and you have adopted a lot of the thinking and the talking points of people who are never going to understand your plight. And you cannot in one breath say that we should all be in this together and that we're all going through the same thing together, but then turn around and tell people that they need to stop being emotional. They should be emotional. You want to talk about logic? There's no fucking logic right now. We are literally watching the leader of what is supposed to be the free world do so much illegal shit, on top of the fact that he is a convicted felon and shouldn't be in the office in the first place. And they're letting him do it. We have people on both sides of the aisle that are allowing him to do it. Democrats literally sitting there going, oh, but that's illegal. And you want to talk about logic? You want to talk about logic right now? There is no logic right now. And yes, I understand that if people fully boycott and nobody is buying Black-owned products, the Black-owned products are going to be the first thing to go. Do I think that this boycott has kept everyone in mind? Absolutely not. I don't even think that it has kept the general consumer in mind. I don't think that it has kept the average Black person in mind. Not even considering brand owners. Not my foot falling asleep. Where was I? I got sidetracked. I do not think that this boycott is viable. I think that that is just a general fact. I think that there is way more that needs to be done for it to possibly be viable. But I also am not naive enough to believe that we can use economics as a way to get ourselves out of this. People are literally losing their livelihoods, guys. People are being fired en masse. And at the end of the day, we can talk about who benefits the most from DEI, but they know who is also holding most of the government jobs. They know who is the most educated in this country. And at the end of the day, Black folks are still going to be the first on the chopping block because they don't want us there. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much money we spend with your business. We can talk about logic, right? We can talk about contracts. We can talk about trying to keep your numbers up so we can keep you in store. But in a world where logic does not work right now, in a world where we are living under actual fascism, if the people that represent Target decide that they don't want to fuck with Black people anymore, they will kick your asses out. And it won't matter whether Black people shop with you or not. It won't. I am no stranger to many of the amazing things that have come out of our Black business owners succeeding. The scholarships that you guys have started. I think Courtney Adelaide is a great example of a Black business owner who has kept her pulse on the general population and community and who has continued to give back. That woman has been giving back her entire career, and we love to see it. But I think that those of you who are trying to lean so hard into logic are failing to understand that when we are in a situation where logic no longer works, the things that you know to call on to, your business models and your plans of attack don't really have a place here anymore. Because literally, as we are sitting down talking, they are working on legislation to start taxing scholarships after they have just dismantled the Department of Education, where millions of people don't know what's going on with their student loans. I being one of those people, I can't even log into my account to handle my student loans. They're going to start taxing scholarships. And when you are giving out scholarships that sometimes equal to like $100,000, do you think that those kids can pay those taxes? No, and they know they can't. And what are they going to start doing? They're going to start locking people up who cannot pay them. Because right now, the closest thing that they can get to bringing back slavery is putting everyone back into the prison system. Because we have the 13th Amendment and it protects regular people, but it doesn't protect people that are in prisons. And we've been saying this for years, but now they have really figured out how to do it. And so if the most educated people in this country are Black women, and those Black women owe shit tons of money to the country, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to start criminalizing it, the way they're trying to criminalize homelessness. And eventually they're going to have their own free labor force. How many of y'all business owners are up to date on your taxes? Have y'all paid all your taxes? Because they might not come for your white counterparts, but they'll definitely come for you if you haven't. That's the reality that we're living in right now. Black exceptionalism is not going to save y'all from that. And more than anything, y'all need to be getting nitty-gritty with your communities. These people who are working in grassroots organizations, y'all need to be talking to them. And I fully understand if y'all have reached out to a couple of people and they were not willing to listen. At the end of the day, you got to push on the people that will. But if you want to be a leader in this community, right? Many of our Black business owners have also taken up the mantle of being mouthpieces for the Black community. Y'all want to be seen as leadership in the Black community. You want to be people that we look up to in the Black community. That is the place that you have chosen for yourselves. So at that same token, while we are not entitled to your labor, you have also made a choice to put yourself in a position where you do have a responsibility to speak to your community with empathy, with humanity, with kindness. Because at the end of the day, many of you are in tax brackets that we are never going to achieve. And you are talking to people right now that are going to be taxed in the same way that billionaires should be. And I understand that we live in a capitalist society, and that in order for you to have even a teeny tiny sliver of a fraction of what other people have, you have had to play the game. We've talked about this often on this channel, but right now that game is defunct, okay? Because if we're really going to be honest about the difficult parts of playing that game, capitalism doesn't function unless you have poverty. You have to have people that are poor and being exploited for capitalism to thrive and function. And so at some point, if we are going to get to a point where we are going to move out of this and no longer be within a fascist society, which fascism feeds off of capitalism, at some point, that is no longer going to work. At some point, that playbook is going to be obsolete. And we're at that point. The time to start having these conversations was 2016. Okay? If I'm being honest, a lot of y'all, business owners included, are late. The time to be having this conversation was a long time ago. Right now, people don't need to hear about your bottom lines and economic plans. Yes, we can talk about how we can help Black business owners so that we can make sure that y'all can continue to help our community thrive, and that we can work with you. I think that y'all should have been allowed time. I think that you guys needed time, but that also includes those of you who are the biggest, who have the loudest voices within that tiny group of upper echelon Black folk. A lot of y'all shouldn't have gotten on the internet and said anything except for asking for time. Please let us figure out what we're going to do so that we can move forward, so that we can work with other community leaders to try to figure out what is the most viable solution. And not all of y'all are going to agree. Do you think all of our ancestors agree with each other back in the day? They did not. You're going to have to get used to working with people who do not agree with you and who also do not respect your station, because at the end of the day, there are going to be a whole lot of people that you're going to have to sit across the aisle from to work with that do not think that you should have the amount of wealth that you have. And if we're going to be honest, they're not really wrong. Because in this system, somebody had to be exploited for you to have the things that you have, right? And so all of these things need to be considered. A lot of you guys want to only focus on the business aspects because you think that's what's going to save you, and it won't. A lot of the women in that discussion kept referencing the Tulsa massacre. And do we know why that happened? Those people made it. They were the example of Black exceptionalism at the time, and you know what they did? They snuffed them out. Making it is not where it stops at all. And if you believe that that's where it stops, we are never going to get anywhere. But as leaders in this community, many of you go to HBCUs and you speak and you do great work. But you cannot lose your ability to speak to the community with empathy. You cannot lose your ability to treat the people who spend their hard-earned money with you with humanity. We're not talking about using products incorrectly. We're not talking about bad-mouthing your business. We're talking about people trying to survive. And at the end of the day, we can talk about the 92% all that we want to, but we ain't safe. It doesn't matter who we voted for. We ain't safe. And we need to be taking care of each other. I think there are a lot of solutions here, but too many people who want to lead and don't actually want to work together, that don't want to organize. We're not going to get anywhere if we don't. It's just simple facts. I have a lot of respect for the women who have come up in this industry and who have made amazing companies, who have provided us with stellar products. I have so much respect for y'all because I have seen a ton of integrity from many of these ladies. There's a reason why I have continued to support them. But I do think there's a lot of room to still do better. And I hope that many of you continue to do that. Because it's very clear that that is needed. We can talk about economics all day, but we are far past the point of economics being at the root of this. This is a humanitarian crisis. We are looking at having our civil rights stripped away. And when people are in that place, you got to understand that while we may still want to support you, I'm always going to continue to buy Black owned. But at what expense? At what expense? All right, so I just finished up. That has really beautiful slip. But y'all, I have really been moving through my hair slowly because I don't want to cause any more breakage. So I'm about here with this mask. On a typical day when my hair isn't really struggling, I probably would have used less. It feels amazing. The smell is really nice and light. It's not the typical pattern fragrance. Feels really good. The shine is going crazy, and it's not like drying on the hair. Like it's sitting there and doing what it needs to do. So I am going to sit underneath my my heated cap. I'm going to sit under that for, I think this said for 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm not going to leave this on too long. I'm going to let that get nice and marinate. We'll rinse this out and then we'll come back and I'll kind of give you guys where I want to leave this off on. All right. So she has been marinating. Ooh. So I just went ahead and rinsed everything out. It took a minute to get everything rinsed out. It's kind of like that jelly feeling almost kind of multiplies in the hair. So this is how things are looking. So these pieces are still kind of a little limp. They need to be cut. Ain't nothing gonna fix this at this point. But the bounce is really great. Really great bounce. You guys can see really beautiful definition in my hair. It feels really nice. It does feel stronger though. So I am gonna go in with a moisture conditioner after this. Let's go back over these claims real quick. Let's see. It's supposed to deliver slip, curl elongation, and definition to coils. So slip, absolutely. The slip was beautiful. It's very smooth in the hair. And it was just a really nice spa-like experience. As far as elongation goes, for me, not really. Like my hair typically looks like this after, you know, when it's wet. As far as like the length goes, definition, yes, definitely. It is doing what it needs to do. My hair looks really, really good. I needed that strength back. Like I really needed that strength. The definition is very much there. This is better than what it was, so I will take it. Yeah, it's just supposed to help give more strength. It's supposed to help with curl definition, and it definitely does. I really like this treatment. It is easy to apply, definitely gives you that spa-like feeling, and it's really, really great if you need some extra strength, but not quite so strong that you feel like your hair is going to snap off. I could get away with not putting a moisture conditioner on top of this, but because of the product that I'm getting ready to test out for you guys, I want to make sure I have all of the moisture in it that I can get. But this is really going to come in clutch for me as I continue to just work on the health of my hair and growing back what was lost. We leave. I just kind of want to leave on this note, right? Y'all know I end up rambling quite a bit. I always have lots going on my mind. This could have been like 4 or 5 videos, not just one. But the situation that we're in now has been a very long time in the making. This has been very well planned, very well executed, and sadly, the people that we have trusted to help us push this country forward are sitting around twiddling their thumbs. And so that leaves us in a very precarious position, right? We have to figure out, how do we move forward? How do we protect one another? As the general community of Black folks here, especially those of you who follow me, we have to lean into our community more than ever. If you don't know who your neighbors are, those Black elders in your neighborhood, do you know who they are? Are you checking on them and making sure that they're okay? They are literally going back in time right now, you know? Are you up to date on what's going on in your schools? What's happening with the libraries in your community? A lot of times we default to, oh, everything is so busy and I have a family to take care of and this and that. But yes, that is all true. But we've got to find some pockets in our day to know what is happening around us and to make small changes. Even if that's taking 5 to 10 minutes of your usual television time to sit down and find out what's going on with organizations in your community, researching grassroots organizations, finding food pantries, finding women's shelters that you can donate to. Simple things to keep you in touch with your community. Making sure you're taking your kids to your libraries. Libraries are going to be important. They're going to be very important. There's a reason why they're trying to get rid of those too. Making sure you know what's going on at your child's school. Do you know when the school board meets? You should. Taking a little bit of that time in your day that you dedicate to turning your brain off, to making sure that you're not turning your brain off to the point that you are letting them have your face. That is the closest place that you can start. Make sure that you are vetting the community members that you are openly following? Do they have a track record? What is that track record? You know, are they able to actually tell you what they're fighting for? These are very important things. And those of you who want to get more into the activism spaces, you can do it. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to deal with a whole lot of people that you do not want to deal with. I personally, as someone who has been working in the activist space since college, I have had to sit at the table with people that I do not like, particularly folks that are in leftist spaces, because a lot of people in leftist spaces are still vehemently racist and vehemently sexist. But in order to get work done, we've all had to sit down, even though we don't necessarily like each other, or even if they're just oblivious to their own bigotry, right? We cannot allow other people to keep us from moving. To that other point, I really want Black business owners to take a second to think about what you are asking of your communities before you get onto your platforms and make the ask. What is it that you're asking for? What is it that you need? And is it fair to be asking people who don't even have 1/8 of the resources that you do to be doing these things? I don't think that it is a huge ask to implore us to continue to shop Black. But if we are making these asks, we need to have other solutions in place so that people can do them effectively and so that we can continue to make change effectively. That is going to require you guys to get off of your seats and also speak with people that you don't necessarily agree with, that you don't like. All of this is going to require a lot of sacrifice, and because we have allowed ourselves to slip into this space of individualism, nobody really wants to do it, regardless of your status, right? But at the end of the day, this is going to affect all of us in different ways. And we have to do better in how we treat one another and how we ask things of one another. These are all important things that we need to take into account of now, because we cannot be having these conversations next year. For those of you who are leaders in the Black community as far as business owning, those of you who have made millions creating products for the Black household, if the only thing that you have really focused on is the general election that happens every 4 years, we're still missing a lot. We have primaries, we have special elections, so many things that are coming up. When you're going into these HBCUs, how are you using that time? Are you just using that time to sell, or are you actually using that time to be change makers? And being a change maker is way more than just creating products for people in a specific space. It is appreciated. The work that you have done is never going to go unrecognized, because what we have right now, the opportunities that we have been able to create simply because of the boost in the Black beauty space is insane. We deserve to have all of these things and more, but not at the cost to our humanity. Not at the cost to our humanity. And when that discussion ended, there was one specific woman who asked the question, what do we think the world will look like if we no longer have Black businesses? And while I think that she thought that that was a super profound statement, it was a very isolationist and a comment or an ask that was very clearly bred out of existing in your own echo chamber. And while that may be a very valid point to bring up to other business owners, I would like to ask you, what is going to happen if your consumers no longer exist? What is going to happen if your consumers are being shipped out of the country or finishing out sentences in Guantanamo Bay? What is going to happen if your consumers are having their faces plastered, their mugshots plastered everywhere because they have been arrested for having miscarriages? These are things that are happening right now. How many of your consumers, your customers, do you think are going to unalive themselves out of fear? How many of those people do you think are going to be shipped out of the country? And how many of those people do you think are going to be forced into prison labor? What are you going to do if your community no longer exists? Because that is the real question that we need to be asking. Because if we all cease to exist as we are right now, your businesses will cease to exist. Your livelihoods will cease to exist. We can pull you guys up out of a failed boycott. We can pull you guys up out of a prospering boycott. We can pull you out of that. But we can't replace people. We can't replace bodies. And those are really important questions to consider too. We can lean into economics all day, but at the end of the day, economics do not overcome humanity. And we are in a full-on humanitarian crisis. In all of this, we all need to do better. We all need to do better. Those of us who are just in regular community spaces need to do better, because we have lost a lot of our sense of community. But those of you at the top also need to do better as well. A lot of you have also lost your sense of community. A lot of you have lost your ability to be able to talk to people, not just talk about numbers, not just talk about formulations, not just talk about who's using what incorrectly or properly, whatever. All of that is off the table now, babe. We need to be able to talk to each other like actual human beings. We need to be able to acknowledge that we are human beings. We need to be able to see each other's pain and commune in that. Because right now, if I'm being honest, a whole lot of the leaders that we like to cite when we have these conversations wouldn't fellowship with the majority of us. And that's sad. Ruby Bridges is still alive, and people are on the internet making jokes about segregation being reinstated. It's scary as fuck outside, okay? None of this is going to get easier. This is only going to get rougher, and we cannot continue to pretend that this is not our fight, because Black people exist everywhere in every category, and it's always going to be our fight. But what we can do is be more strategic. We can be equal parts emotional and strategic, because right now they are waiting for one of us to cast the first stone. They are waiting to make Black people the example, and we don't have to give them that. But that doesn't mean that we can't do anything. There's a lot that we can do, but we have to be able to talk to each other first. Love on each other, take care of each other. This ain't gonna be easy. And I know we like to come on this internet and kind of forget all of the horrible things that are going on, but we cannot spend so much time forgetting that we allow people to erase who we are. We can't do that. I love y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you in the next video. And you guys let me know, what topics do you want to hit for the next Self-Care Sunday? I love you guys.